On ego rests the revolution. Jolene, Clew said, chasing after her. She was headed down to the surface. Soon she would be in the lift, and Clew would have to follow and give his speech. I don't feel good about any of this, Clew said when Jolene showed no sign of stopping. Thank you for expressing your opinion, Jolene said, not looking back. But it's not needed. He closed the distance between them, reaching out for her shoulder. Jolene, stop. The people are gathering to hear your words, Clew, Jolene said, refusing to stop or look back at him. We don't have time for your indecision. They know you've descended from the heavens and intend to usher in the hereafter. This has gone too far, Clew tried to say. Just listen to me. Jolene turned on Clew in a fury. No, you listen to me. We have worked too hard to arrive at this point for you to get cold feet last second and pull out. I have been looking for an opening like this for years, and Luna sacrificed being with her family to knock some sense into that dense head of yours. Clew's stomach sank. He looked at Luna, who shuffled on uncomfortable feet. The looping? None of it was real? All of it was real, Luna said. Some of it just utilized for a purpose. Jolene had downcast eyes. Her wall had lowered, but it was still up. Luna was looping, and there was absolutely nothing we could do about it. Every outcome led to her dying on Earth. She knew that. I knew that. So we took advantage, crafting an experience to force you to confront what you have done on this planet. Why? Clew asked, feeling more anger than he should. Why didn't you just talk to me? I wouldn't have gotten through, Jolene said. I've tried to do this before, force you to confront the fallout of your ministry. None of it worked. I don't know why this time was different, but we're running with it. It was Travis's involvement, Clew said. Jolene tilted her head. Well, I'm glad he could be of use, but I'm still happy he's dead. Did you have to destroy the elevator? We're safe for a decade because I destroyed the elevator, Jolene said in determination. The cost of atmospheric entry for an army is too cost-prohibitive to happen anytime soon without that elevator. We don't have weapons. We would never survive the siege that the elevator would facilitate. Now, we have time to prepare. You just destroyed this planet's main economic resource, Clew said. She had to understand. This planet had nothing but the Dyson sphere. Take that away, and what did it have? Its entire economic system just had the foundation ripped out. Economic resource? Jolene seethed in a shaky voice. It's an ego project for the elite to exalt themselves. Okay, fine. Maybe change was necessary, Clew said, trying to sound reasonable. But not this way. He motioned to the sky. How many people did you just kill with that elevator? I evacuated the equator west of the Citadel, Jolene stated with a glare. I highly doubt anyone died. If they did, we will revive them. Good, Clew said, not willing to let his argument deflate. But it still didn't have to come to this. I've already explained why the elevator was necessary, Jolene said. But this isn't better, Jolene, Clew said. He motioned around them and up at the empty sky through the window. Jolene gave a slight growl. Yes, it is. For the first time in a century, these people have leverage. They now live in a society that believes they have rights simply because they exist. Rights to what end? Clew said, motioning around. I thought we wanted to improve these people's lives. Yeah, Jolene said in her most sarcastic and condescending voice. Obviously, that's what we're doing. We are on a desolate planet that has no real economy and is not self-reliant. We need a sustainable path forward, or we will die. We had an obvious economic resource, and you just destroyed it, Clew said. Jolene made herself tall, seeming to loom over Clew. I destroyed the means of their oppression, the elevator that Murphy built to rape this planet and exploit its people. We aren't self-reliant. Not according to your standards of comfort, Jolene said. But we can get by. You just don't want to because you're not willing to sacrifice. You're acting like I haven't had decades to think this through, Clew. We cannot have a resource like the elevator. Murphy would take it. Maybe, Clew said, trying to convey sincerity. But 1 million people already call this planet home. They've reached a breaking point. I've seen it before. Jolene hardened against his words. Oh, with one of your previous cults? Clew glared at her. Yes, so believe me when I say that Rodinians will never again tolerate slavery. Building this planet was easy compared to the subduing of a people that has already tasted freedom. Which is why Murphy will destroy us if they can, and why we need to protect ourselves, Jolene said. Protect ourselves, yes, and our best path forward is returning to full operations. Rebuild the elevator, take the Dyson Sphere for Rodinia, and control the power production throughout Laurasia, Clew said. Rodinia would be the richest planet in Laurasia within a decade. Jolene's eyes darkened. There's always a part of a person you can never really see. That dark side that drives their ambition. But I see who you really are. You didn't just want to kill Travis, you wanted to be Travis. Indignation swelled within Clew. Given a chance at control, he would have done better than Travis. That's not true. I think it is, Jolene said. Why else would you choose to run right back to the status quo? You want to be Travis. And to prevent that from happening, you become Travis instead? Clew asked. Clew, I get it, Jolene said, seeming barely in control of her emotions while trying to stamp them down. You're asking good questions. I don't have all the answers. But that isn't a prerequisite to inciting a revolution. I need you right now. We'll work through it. We have time. Clew stayed silent. He had idolized this woman. Her visions of the future threatened to destabilize a world he loved, one he had helped craft. It wasn't perfect, but no system was. How can I trust you? That will have to come over time, Jolene sighed. I see that from your expression. Right now, all I need to know is if you're on board. If so, we go down and you declare the hereafter. If not, I figure something else out. But either way, it's on your terms, Clew said. Yes, I'm sorry. Regret crossed Jolene's face. Clew relaxed his stance. He could still fix this. Fine. I'm in. Let's get down to the ground, Jolene said. She called the lift, and the doors opened instantly. Clew followed Jolene and Luna into the cramped compartment. It lurched downward, and minutes later, the doors reopened to the ground floor. Clew had first seen the base of the Citadel 20 years ago. He had assumed it was an unfinished assembly hall at the time. Travis had informed Clew that it was in fact a warehouse, where goods would wait to leave the planet up the space elevator. So much had changed in that time. Travis was dead. The space elevator was no more, and the warehouse was full of people. Clew paused in shock. Thousands of transients were here, all gathered in anticipation. But for what? Why are they here? Clew asked. To witness your triumphant descent, Jolene said, motioning at Clew. Why else? Clew stood on the edge of the room, frozen at the sight before him. It was all too much. Jolene expected Clew to end the intermediary journey by declaring the hereafter before the transients. But this was his life's work, his doctrine, his promise that all would still be made right in a future life. And it would. Given enough time, all would be made right. A spark of anger ignited within Clew for Jolene, forcing him to destroy what he had built, for seeing the fruit of his labors and declaring it unfit for the world as she thought it should be. And who was she anyway to say what should be? Why would her ideas be any better than Clew's? They wouldn't. Jolene passed Clew, walking towards the people. Clew found himself glaring a hole into the back of her head. Meanwhile, the crowds had noticed Clew and Jolene and had fallen silent, their eyes fixed on Clew in adoration. Clew froze. They were happy he was alive, happy to see him walking around and coherent after having died in their midst just 3 days prior. Jolene approached them. A podium had been erected along the edge of the massive warehouse. Jolene motioned Clew forward. "Say your piece." Clew stepped forward, nervous for the first time in his life to address a crowd. No, not the first time. He had left a congregation once before, 20 years ago, the day he first met Jolene. He had the opportunity to set that congregation free as well. And rather than admit fault, rather than be honest, he had fled. He could do nothing for that last congregation. The chance had passed. But he could still set this congregation free. The first row of transients stood an arm's width away. Gareth waited with adoration in his eyes for Clew to begin. He used to be a captain, albeit for Murphy, but a captain nonetheless. He had walked away without reservations, all to build Clew's dream. It was still a good dream. Travis had just corrupted its purpose. Jolene wanted him to apologize, to back down as if he were somehow wrong in his part on Rodinia. Rage swirled within him. He wasn't wrong to set up his ministry. Perhaps Murphy was wrong for reviving slaves, but Clew had just made the best of a bad situation. Besides, with Murphy now blocked off from the planet, Clew was very close to gaining everything he wanted. The ability to build his ministry, free of corporate or government interference. Clew stumbled the rest of the way to the microphone, his new muscles still clumsy. "Good afternoon," he said, having no idea what to say next. He knew what he wanted. He also knew what he suspected was right and moral. They were not the same. "My children, fellow transients. For many weeks now, whispers have floated around Rodinia that the intermediary journey would soon come to an end." He paused, heart pounding. "Those rumors were true," Clew said, stealing a glimpse behind himself at Jolene. The sight of her only fanned the anger he felt. Who was she to take from him what he had worked so hard to build? She was nothing. In that moment, Clew knew his decision. Many transients, in their excitement to usher in the hereafter, forgot central tenets of the transitionary doctrine: patience and long-suffering. You may notice when looking into the sky that we no longer have an elevator. This is due to the actions of a few overeager transients. They destroyed because they believed they knew better. Unfortunately, it means the rest of you can no longer perform your initiatives. I regret to say that the actions of a few have forestalled our arrival in the hereafter. I cannot say for how long. We were so close, and the dissatisfied few have taken that away. I am sorry." Clew's microphone cut off, but he had said his piece, as Jolene commanded. A sea of worried and concerned faces filled Clew's sight. Jolene stepped up beside Clew, a crease of anger deciding her face. "I thought you were on board," she whispered to Clew in a hiss. With taking Travis down? Clew asked under his breath. Yes, we've accomplished that. Jolene grabbed Clew's microphone. It worked for her. My fellow Rodinians, the transitionary journey is a lie. Elder here created a doctrine and gave you initiatives as a way of making slaves out of you. Many of you know this to be true. That's not true, Clew yelled at the crowd. He could barely speak loud enough for the first few rows of people to hear. Jolene was the one to destroy the elevator. She has postponed the hereafter for all of us. Elder has lied to you, Jolene said, speaking into the microphone. He would keep you here on this planet ignorant to the worlds beyond and your potential. The crowd fell silent at her words. Stunned expressions watched Clew and Jolene compete for their loyalty. Liar! A man shouted from the crowd. A murmur of assent came from the crowd, and Clew's stomach sank. They recognized him for what he was, a liar. They surged forward, voices angry and turning into the mob they always had the potential to be. Shouts of indignation assaulted Clew. They hated him. They would cast him out. He prepared for their angry hands to land on him and tear him apart as they had done with those 6 people in Sector 7 last month. They surged forward. But it was not Clew they laid their hands on. Why are you doing this? Jolene shouted, struggling against their hands. He's the one who did this to you. He's the one who lied, not me. People in the masses, all led by Gareth and other prominent transients, laid their hands on Jolene, pulling her into their midst. Clew knew what would follow and considered closing his eyes. Instead, he held up his hand. Stop! To Clew's satisfaction, and perhaps relief, they did. But Elder, Gareth said, she's guilty of crimes against you. She's always envied your position. It's well known amongst the transients. Had she not held your return to life hostage, we would have removed her days ago. Unable to believe his luck, Clew nodded. Never had the events of his life so perfectly aligned in a way that made even him believe that he occupied a divine purpose in the cosmos. Sure, that was the doctrine. But now he had seen. He was destined to lead these people to the hereafter. Clew watched Jolene struggle under the many hands of her captors. She had tried to dethrone him, yet still, he felt compassion. After all, this transitionary life could be so fraught with trial. Did not everyone require mercy on occasion? Do not harm her, Clew said at last. She will be given a new initiative, one that better allows her to work towards the hereafter. But she will not be allowed to corrupt as she has done now. Gareth bowed to Clew, still holding on to Jolene. A wise and merciful decision, Elder. Clew locked eyes with Jolene, adorning the perfect blend of compassion and pity on his face. We could have built something beautiful together. Jolene shook her head, able to stand upright now that so many people weren't restraining her. You may control his planet, but it's because of me. Don't forget that. I do hope you find your way again, Jolene, Clew said. You were always among the best of us. You are despicable, Jolene shouted as several transients dragged her away. She raised her head above the crowd to be heard. You are not their salvation, Clew. The crowd jeered at Jolene and shamed her through their midst, rejoicing in the liberation from Murphy that Clew had bestowed upon them. Gareth turned slowly back to Clew, emotion painting his face. Such anger. We cannot always understand those who turn from the transitionary journey, Clew said. We can only hope that they will once again find themselves on the path of progress. With a light heart, Clew stood once again to address the people. Not just any people. His people. Later, Clew sat in a circle with the 6 remaining anointed ones in the inner sanctum. Events at the Citadel had subsided. A proclamation had been sent across the land. Murphy was no longer on this planet to oppress them. Their initiatives would be restructured to rebuild the planet. In a few years' time, they would venture from Rodinia to deliver electricity and the doctrine of transition to the rest of Laurasia. Perhaps one day, they would even spread to Earth. But that was still a long way off. Clew faced his anointed ones. "Where is Iris, Elder?" Gareth asked. "She died with Travis," Clew said. "I do not know the details, but they were involved somehow." 6 somber faces surrounded Clew. The circular pad on the floor that Iris used to fill sat empty. Gareth bowed his head. "How do we go on after all that has happened?" "We rebuild," Clew said. "We are a strong people, capable of surmounting any trial." "I'm happy to hear that," Gareth said. "With your permission, I would like to oversee the rebuilding of the space elevator. Now that Murphy is gone, we must gain access to the stars if we're to spread the transitionary doctrine." "I agree," Clew said. "Do this for me." "I will not fail you, Elder." Clew nodded in appreciation. Gareth would encounter difficulties, but he was the most qualified person for the job. "Who will take Iris's place among us?" Lee asked. "I have someone in mind," Clew said. "Do you mind if I invite them in?" The anointed ones bowed their heads in agreement. Clew stood, crossing the room on bare feet to the door to the garden room. Just outside the inner sanctum was the waterfall and koi pond. Beyond that stood a woman, waiting to be invited. "Luna?" She looked up, eyes lighting. "We're ready for you now," Clew said. Luna crossed the bridge on bare feet and entered the inner sanctum. Clew returned to his place and sat cross-legged on the ground. "Thank you for joining us, Luna." Luna, furtive and guarded, stepped forward to the center of the room. She wore the standard, light tan religious robes allotted to every transient. The way she hugged herself and hid her hands made her seem small. "Thank you for inviting me, Elder." Clew paused at her use of his title. Last time they had met, Clew had invited her to use his name. No matter. "You witnessed firsthand the other day that we are now short an anointed one." "I was sorry to see Iris's fate," Luna said. "Perhaps she can switch out into a new body." "She can, should Murphy choose to revive her," Clew said. "However, she is no longer an anointed one. I would like that position to go to you." "I have never served in any leadership capacity before," Luna said. "We all start somewhere," Clew said. "Do not worry about that." Luna bowed, eyes never leaving Clew's. He couldn't quite make out that expression. "You honor me, Elder. I accept." Clew smiled. "It is done." He stood. "Come, we must introduce you to your sector." He moved to place an arm around her. She flinched, sidestepping Clew and peering back toward the garden room. Clew plastered on an expression of calm serenity. "It's okay." Luna's eyes flitted to each of the anointed ones, as if looking for danger. Looking for danger, or assessing an opportunity. A pit formed in Clew's stomach, and he took a step away from Luna. Luna looked at Clew with dread. He realized that her hands still had not left the confines of her robes. Her posture tensed, face resolving. "You betrayed this people," she said in a soft cry. And with that, she lunged at Clew. From within the confines of her robes, she revealed a knife, which she swung right at Clew's neck. Clew froze, becoming death an inevitable consequence of the gamble he had played. Gareth did not freeze. He dove for Luna, grabbing her arm and forcing her away from Clew. But he did not have a plan, and he did not know how to fight. Soon, They were both on the floor, and the fight went poorly for Gareth. In his eagerness, he impaled himself on the knife, and Luna crawled out from under him, extracting the stained blade. Gareth writhed on the floor, glancing up at Clew, the fear of a dying animal in his eyes. He was fading, losing blood, and but by Clew's mercy, he would die forever. It seemed he would at least die for now, and yes, Clew would revive him. He was a far more valuable servant than he gave himself credit. Luna appeared shocked to have killed Gareth, but she refocused on Clew. "The revolution is not over," she said in a quiet voice, as if saying it cost every ounce of her courage. She took a step closer to Clew. Clew's other anointed ones surrounded him in a defensive barrier against Luna. Clew was her goal, and they would sacrifice themselves to stop her. The sudden rally to Clew's defense stopped Luna. The fear in her eyes deepened. She could not win. The truth was etched into her trembling face. She stepped back, tripping over Gareth's motionless body. She looked down at his pale face and seemed to snap out of her panic. "I can't do another 20 years in slavery. I can't. I'd rather die a permanent death than be beholden to another tyrant," she said, and raised her blade to her neck. "Stop her," Clew said on instinct. Lee rushed for Luna and wrestled the blade from Luna's hand. He then wrapped his arms around Luna to restrain her and turned so that she faced Clew. Clew approached on weary feet, reclaiming the situation with a forced, casual demeanor. "Do not worry, child. I would not let you die. Nor will your punishment for this crisis of faith be more than you can bear." Luna cried out in Lee's arms. "You destroyed our chance at freedom." Clew leaned into Luna. "I saved this people. Jolene would have been worse than Travis." "Jolene could have succeeded," Luna said. "But you couldn't accept her plan. You couldn't let go of your control. You took the power for yourself. Jolene had you figured out. You didn't want to remove Travis. You wanted to replace him. And now what? You own this planet. And?" Clew responded with an effortless shrug and a sly grin. "And now we harness the sun." Her face broke down into a sob. "Put her somewhere safe and ensure she cannot hurt herself," Clew said to Lee. He looked down at Gareth, dead on the ground, then up to the anxious faces of his anointed ones. "We have more to do than ever if we hope to usher in the hereafter."